Hey y'all, what's going on? Thank you for checking out this video. As you can tell from the title, this is my recap from Lake Chatuge. At the last one for the high school tournament, I got Austin and Sam to do the recap, but I wasn't able to get that this week. I kind of forgot to do it, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do the recap on their behalf, I guess. I sat there and watched everything, so I guess I can do the recap pretty all right. I'm going to go over their practice day and their tournament day. If you haven't seen the practice and tournament video, it's going to be at the top of the description, so you can click those links to watch that. But they finished up in like 16th place out of maybe 50 or 55 high school boats and like 15, 20 junior teams. So, close to 70, 80 boats on the lake. They had 3 fish for 7.5 pounds, anchored by Sam's, kicker 4-pound fish, all spots. We never caught a largemouth in practice or the tournament. But like I said, they're in 3rd place and Angler of the Year right now. They were going into the tournament in 1st, and they've got, I don't know if you can see my calendar, but they've got Hartwell, Clarks Hill, and Neely Henry as their state tournament left. So they got 3 more tournaments. I mean, they're only 2 points behind the leader. There's plenty of time, plenty of fishing left. I still think they can pull off AOI. I'm hoping they can. I'm rooting for them. I'm gonna try my best to make sure they can. But starting off practice day, we got there on Friday, fished some old history and stuff, and about 10:45 or so, the wind picked up. We hadn't had a bite yet, and we pulled up on this shoal. And it was actually a point right now with the water down, but in the summertime it's a shoal. It's just under the water, but right now it makes a point. We pulled up, and Austin slung just a little 4-inch stick bait on a 1/8 ounce shaky head. He slung that thing up there and caught a nice fish, almost a 2.5 pounder. I hate a Ned rig. I hate throwing a Ned rig. I just feel dumb using it. I just don't like it. So this is my Ned rig. That's what I'll throw, a 4-inch stick bait. Sometimes I'll cut some off of it, make it a 3.5. But that's what I throw. I don't throw a Ned rig. I just throw that little deal right there. And that's what Austin caught our first fish on in practice. And then I told him, I said, all right, don't throw there no more with the shaky head. So, of course, Austin picks up the frit side, and literally like 3 casts later, he catches another fish, a keeper size spot, and he caught it on a little sexy shad color frit side, just reeling it across the top of this little point. Like I said, it's a shoal. It's really a shoal in the summertime, but this time of the year it's a point just because the water's drawn down and it's coming out of the water a little bit. The wind was just blowing over the top of it, and those fish had pulled up there, I guess, just to feed. I'm sure there was more than just 2 there, but after we caught those 2, we moved along and didn't fish there anymore. We didn't want to keep hitting that spot if, we want to hit in the tournament. But like I said, Austin caught him one on the old frit side there, sexy shad in practice with the wind blowing. And, this, like I said, that was about 10:45, 11. And after that, we hit a couple more spots, and by about 1 o'clock, we hadn't had another bite. The sun had been out all day. I wanted to hit some boat docks just to see if some fish might have been pulled up and suspended, on the floating docks, the metal ones that's got the plastic floats that'll hold some heat. So we pulled up, fished a row of docks, and that was like on a secondary point, and then they went back in a pocket on either side. So, a good spot for this time of the year. And I skipped under there with just a little watermelon red wacky worm. And if you can tell in the video, I have that hook bent in just so I didn't hook the fish in practice, because that's the thing about, any lake, but especially a small lake like Lake Chatuge, we didn't want to hook any more fish than we had to, so I just wanted to shake it off. But I had a very obvious bite. I felt the thump, reeled my slack up. I almost set the hook just out of habit, but I didn't set the hook. And I watched my line swim off, and I just kind of wiggled the rod until it finally let go. But it felt like a decent bite. It's always hard to tell on a wacky worm because I've caught 12-inchers and 8-pounders on a wacky worm. They bite the same way, so you really don't know. But it felt like a good fish, and it had some weight to it. But that's what they all say, I guess. But had that one bite on a wacky worm. On the practice day, we ran a lot more docks. Never had another bite during practice. And we wrapped up about 4 o'clock. We tried some other stuff. A jig, a Carolina rig, and I'm sorry, I'm missing something. I forgot about that. So after I caught the fish on the wacky worm, we were fishing those boat docks, and Sam was skipping a jig around the docks, throwing them on the outside and stuff. And he had, I know for a fact, 1 bite, But then he caught one. The wind was blowing. He had a bad cast and had a backlash, so he was picking the line out. And when he reeled his line up to reel the bait back in, his jig had been sitting on the bottom. He caught like a 2.5, 2 3/4 pound spot just out there in front of a boat dock on a jig on the practice day, around where I had got the wacky worm bite. And that's not the exact jig he was throwing, but it is very similar with the trailer and the size. It was a finesse jig. He was actually using more of like a green pumpkin swirl. It was like a green pumpkin skirt with some like baby blue in it. But so like I said, this isn't the exact same jig, but it's a very, very similar one that he had that bite on. But so that was it for practice day. We quit about 4 o'clock, went to the hotel to check in, and we decided that we were going to start on the little area that Austin caught those 2 fish on the shaky head and the frit side. So we pulled up in there on the backside of this island, tournament morning, fished there. There wasn't much wind, and we kind of were hoping for that wind to set those fish up. We couldn't get any bites, and the morning went on pretty quick. We had no bites, and about 9 or 9:30, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so let me rewind back to practice day. So Sam caught the fish on the jig. We had the wacky worm bite, and that was like 1 o'clock, 1:30, and after that we just went looking for some crankbait stuff because we were trying to figure out a way to catch some fish, a jerkbait, a crankbait. So about 2:30 we pulled up on another shoal, a rocky, really rocky shoal. It was a point. The wind was blowing up against it, and I caught a keeper on the old trusty Demon DT6 keeper spot. So we left that area, went to another area that was a secondary point around some boat docks, and I caught another fish on another keeper in that area on the little secondary point, and we went around just looking for similar places to throw this thing. We quit fishing it, but we were just looking for similar areas, and that's how we finished out our practice day. I forgot. I'm losing my mind, I guess, but we caught 2 fish on the red DT6. So, tournament morning rolls around. We messed around, couldn't get a bite, and about 9 o'clock that morning, 9:15, we pulled up on the really rocky point. The wind was blowing up against it, where I had caught a fish in practice, and Austin caught our first keeper on the little DT6, probably about 1.5 pounds, 1.75 pound spot. It was a nice fish, definitely a good start to the day for us. And we kept fishing around there a little bit. We turned back around and hit it one more time with no luck. And since we were in the area, I was like, okay, y'all are close to where I caught the other fish on this bait. Let's go run over there and hit it. And it was like I said, a little secondary point back in a pocket, and there was a line of boat docks, like 4 or 5 docks in the back of this one little pocket, and then it makes the point where I caught the fish. So I pulled up in there, and I was like, y'all just fish these boat docks. That way we don't get right on top of the point. I don't want to drive the boat all the way back in here. So like I said, we're throwing this around, and Sam picked up his jig that he caught his fish on the practice day, and he fired up there close to this boat dock, not really under the boat dock, but just up beside the boat dock in probably 2 or 3 foot of water. And I was actually on the phone with my mom, telling her about the day so far. We had the 1 fish, and we were in an area where I had caught a fish, and Austin was actually fishing the secondary point where we had got the bite on practice. And next thing I know, Sam sets the hook on his jig and catches a 4-pound spot up there, dirt shallow. Got that big one in the boat, and we had 2 fish. And this is like 10 o'clock, maybe 9:45, 10 o'clock. Still have plenty of time, so we're thinking, okay, this is going good. We've really got a chance, to have a limit today. So we got that fish in the boat, hit the spot, no luck on the crankbait. We fished some more areas that were similar, throwing the jig, throwing a shaky head, kept throwing the crankbait, and we mixed in like a swim bait and a jerk bait and chatterbait, spinnerbait, stuff like that. So we couldn't get any more bites, and it was right around about 12 o'clock, and we went to an area that we didn't fish in practice, but we marked it. It was a good-looking area. We marked it. We pulled up on a little point, rocky point. Sam got a bite on the jig. Like, we saw the rod tip go down. He about set the hook, and the fish let go of it. So Austin threw up there with the little 4-inch Senko deal on the shaky head. He pulls up on the point after Sam had the bite on the jig. Catches a keeper, 1.25 pounds, not a big fish at all, but catches a keeper. got it in the live well. We got 3 fish. He throws back out there and catches another one on this, but it was a short. It was like 10 inches long. So we hit that for, 20 more minutes with the worm and the crankbait and the jig trying to get another bite. We just never could. So we were like, okay, we'll just hit this. We'll hit this again at some point. We'll kind of give it a break and hit it again. So we ran some other stuff. Got stopped by the game warden. Hit some boat docks. They weren't filling the boat docks. Ran back to the spot where we caught the 2 on this, and there was a boat on it, and it rolled around. It's like 1:30, 1:45. We still had 3 fish. I mentioned, we got stopped by the game warden on fishing in an area that we had hoped to, and that kind of messed us up. We kind of got off of it, all that crap. So, about 2 o'clock, we didn't have much time left. We had like 50 minutes, and we just tried to run some new water, try some other stuff, and it just never happened for us. Like, they wound up weighing 3 fish, but still a good tournament for them. Not what we were hoping for, but definitely, a 16th place finish. They salvaged points. It wasn't bad at all, and they had a pretty normal weight. A 5 fish limit of 12 inches would have weighed what they weighed in with 3. So that Sam's kicker really helped us out. The other team from Bremen, Brandon and Jay, they did, shout out to them, they did good. They come in, I believe, 11th or 12th place. They had a limit for, 8.5 pounds. So they did a good job. And we talked to some people, they were catching fish under the boat docks, mainly with like a shaky head and a jig. And we were kind of ahead of ourselves. That was on me trying to throw a wacky worm. I think if we could use like a Nico or a shaky head on the bottom, we might could have got some more bites. But obviously, hindsight's 20/20. That's looking back. We know that. But so maybe we could have done that different. And we talked to some other people that were around some schooling fish, catching fish on a jerkbait. We just could never really make that work for us. We never come across those fish in that area. But like I said, Chatuge has really whooped us in the past. So I'm glad that they had a decent finish. Like I said, not what we hoped for, but definitely a good finish. But our main players in the tournament were the little 4-inch stick bait on a shaky head, and then Sam caught his big kicker on the old finesse jig with just a little crawfish trailer, and then Austin did catch 1 on the DT6, and he said, I didn't see it, on the same area where I caught a keeper in practice, he caught the first keeper in the tournament. We hit it later in the day, and there was a boat on it, so we fished the other side. He said that he had one that was a 3-pounder, follow it to the boat. I don't know if it was actually a 3-pounder. It's hard to tell. I mean, like I said, I didn't see it. He said it was a 3. So even if it was a 2-pounder, that would have bumped them up to 9.5 pounds, and they'd have probably had a 10th place finish. So I'm sure they come close to having the fish to have a limit, but like I said, they never hooked anymore. They had the 1 short, so I'm proud of them. It was a tough day. A lot of people, had 1 or 2 fish or zeroed, so I'm proud of them. But their next tournament is actually, let's see, Oconee at the end of the month, end of March. I think they might actually fish another one at West Point, so they're going to be pretty busy. But thank y'all for watching this recap, and if you haven't already, make sure you watch the tournament video and the practice video so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But like I said, this is just the baits we used, and thank y'all for watching this one. And if you fish these tournaments, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I always post the practice, the tournament, a recap. So I try to break down everything from our tournament. So if you fish these tournaments or, fish these lakes, make sure you subscribe. It's getting to be, fishing season is rolling. We got kind of a cold front right now, but after this cold front, the spawn's going to be rolling right around the corner. It's getting there late March, early April. We're about to get right. But thank y'all for watching this one, and I will see y'all on the next one.